Yo, what's up? It's your boy H2O. Welcome back to another edition of the New Balance Podcast. Man, I missed you all so much. So much has happened in the last week, and I can't wait to get you caught up. Man, I have another one for you on today. As we say every week, every guest is special and really in the building. Let me pump my brakes. In the building is this guy sitting next to me. I know, yeah, we look just alike, right? Twins. We definitely are twins on the inside and out, man. My big bro is on here, man. New Balance Podcast. Show some love to my brother, Ken Brain. Give it up for my homie. Welcome to the New Balance Podcast.
I appreciate you having me here, bro.
Yeah, man. You know, we got to throw one up for 63rd at Polina for those who watching. Huh? Yeah. It's so good. This has been a long awaited time, man, with us. And I'm just glad to have you on. I know my viewers, they're going to be in for a treat, man. We have a special one for them on today. Those that's been following, we just started a new series talking about community convos with H2O. I deem myself to be the potential conditioner. When I look at God's plan and you look at the word throughout the Bible, God was about conditioning the potential in all the biblical characters. And it doesn't matter if you look at the life of David, you look at the life of Esther, you look at the life of Noah, you look at the life of Moses. He developed the potential that was in him. And life has a way of doing that for us. But when we look at our families, when we look at our communities, we can see where there are holes, there are gaps, there are things that are missing. And it's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of identifying it. What's bad is identifying it and not doing anything about it. Right. So my guest today, man, he is very, very well versed in community. And he spent a lifetime working in the community in the different areas of life. But just give you a little backdrop about my brother that's on, man. He and I went to college together. Shout out to Paul Quinn, PQC Nation.
Yes.
Much love. You know, we played ball together in college, man. And of course, you meet so many people along your journey, but then there are definitely people that God just carved out these relationships. And what's crazy is we spent those 2.5, 3 years together. It seems as if we had been knowing each other, for a lifetime, and this brother, man, just had my back thick and thin, ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And just over the years, we've always stayed in touch. And he's just really near and dear to my heart. But I do know you're going to be blessed on today. So before we jump into the convo train, man, tell me what's up, man. Tell me what's been going on there in D-Town. And how's your family, man?
Man, my family is doing great, man. Dallas is Dallas,
Right.
Moved here July 10th will be 6 years that I moved here. So
Crazy.
I love it. I love the Southern life. It's a huge difference from Chicago, but It's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing. Came down here, we're trying to do some things out here.
For sure. Oh man, y'all doing more than trying. Y'all doing them, man. Y'all doing them. And I think Train, let me be the audience and me calling you Train. That's his nickname.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, if you see,
we keeping it real on.
Hey, listen, if you ever played against him, you know why we call him Train. I seen him put the wheels on the tracks and put some cats in the can. You understand? But it's amazing that looking over this journey of our lives, looking at where we are now. I say this all the time, and I think this podcast is definitely one that I should say it on. We have become our parents, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You go through these seasons, and all of these transitions are great, but then it gets to the point where you're no longer the student, but it's time for you to be the teacher. And that's the purpose of this podcast. That's why I was birthed. And so you and I talk, man, we see the holes in our families. We see the holes in our community. And one thing I love about you is we're not a bunch of just talkers and just talk about the problem. We said, no, we're going to do something and put something in action to make it better. I started this whole convo because, the world, we've been through a little something and we're still going through a little something. But I think sometimes, man, it's nothing like just having some good trouble to make you stop, pause, and to really assess, right? And
Mhm.
evaluate what's going on. And I think the world is at that place. Like, man, we have to do some things differently, right? There's not really one particular thing that I want to point out at this moment, but if you look at the news, if you talk to loved ones, man, it's so many things that people are going on with people in their lives, and we know this: the stronger our families are, the better our communities are, and the better our world is, right? So, when I talk to you, and I was so fortunate and privileged, man, to be able, one year, I went home with you for spring break,
Mhm.
and I got a chance, man, to see, Chicago up close and personal. Was a wonderful trip. And I also got to see your family. Man, you
Yeah.
come from a strong family backdrop. And the family backdrop that you come from and family values that I have, a lot of those values we lost, man. So if we could just kind of start there with the family and just talking about the differences in families now, man, what would you say to our viewers as it relates to how do you deal with the challenges of keeping your family focused and afloat during all this turbulence, man? What do you say to that, Train, man? What do you say to people who is like, man, I'm trying, but I'm struggling, man. I'm just straight struggling.
Man, it come down to first you have to accept where you at.
Okay.
Um, when, like you said, when we was coming up, family, the dynamics of family is just completely different now.
Right.
Back then, you knew who your siblings were, you knew your cousins, you knew your aunties, you knew. I mean, y'all got together often, but that's kind of like a lost art right now in a lot of families. Well,
Mhm.
what I see is the struggle is one communication.
Okay.
Two, a lot of people don't want to just accept the full responsibility of what it takes. It's family. It takes a lot. Family, you gotta love your family,
Yeah.
like you said, through thick and thin. So
Yeah.
it's just a huge difference, man, from the 70s, 80s. When the 90s hit, that's when you start seeing the difference and the whole shift of family change.
Yeah.
Back then we had if it wasn't a tragedy, you had a mother and a father, who raised the kids. Now you got grandparents. Now you got godparents. Now it's just so much that's
Mhm.
going on, and the way the streets is affecting the families is just getting it's bad.
It's
It's
bad.
bad. But there's still hope because
Yes.
God won't put us in something that He can't get us out of.
Right.
That's the number one thing that we have to continue to hold on to.
Right.
And back then, you had a lot of families that worship together.
Yes. Yeah.
Now it's so many different outlooks and beliefs, and everybody,
Mhm.
questioning this, questioning that.
Right.
Back then, you had a lot of families that had get-togethers. You got
Yeah.
together for a birthday, you got together for holidays, you got together,
Right.
on the weekends. You rarely see that. You rarely see that now.
Absolutely.
So I
Right.
mean, when you look at the whole totality of how families are being affected,
Hmm.
then we're not even talking about uh, back then, you had families that lived in a home or in an area, a neighborhood, and they stayed there 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the turnover rate is so huge now. You got people
Right.
that's constantly moving. So,
Right.
it's just a lot.
Yeah.
You had phone calls back then. You had
Right.
letters back then.
Right.
Now, you, people text or social
Mhm.
media. That's
Right.
their only means of communication. If you
Right.
call somebody now, it's like, what's wrong? Like,
Hmm.
I was just calling to check on you.
Right.
So it's just a lot, man, that we have to try to, you know, they say fashion comes around.
Right.
Fashion, you had the bell bottoms, you had the afros, you had different
Yeah.
things that come around. So what
Right.
we have to do is try to turn that family dynamics back around and get it back to where it was because it's still
Gotcha.
there. It's still there.
Absolutely.
Just people have to be committed to it.
Absolutely, man. I love that. Oh man, great response. I love that because you you gave a synopsis and then you gave all of the things that have come against what is the foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the thing. It's you said something critical, like the family structure is still there. We have to do some things on purpose in order for it to be there.
That's
So,
right.
I use the phrase. I say, "Well, hey, I'm like, okay, yeah, I love my family. I notice we got there's some holes there. How do I do it?" You just heard him say just some basic practical things. Now, you and I both know this. Life that we live now is moving, it's fast. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
man, it's constant. There's something always going on. You put this down, you're picking it up. It's just constant. And I get it. Excuse me. I get it. I get it. I get it. But one of the things that we have to learn how to be efficient at is stopping. It's like, let's just say, and I'm gonna use this as an example. Say, for instance, on Sunday, right? You and I both know when we grew up, Sunday, we reverence the Lord on Sunday, right? We were gonna go to church. And then even the people who didn't go to church, there was just not a lot of things going on. What happened on Sunday? Stores shut down. You know what I mean? Even for the party cats, you couldn't go get your drink on Sundays. Everything was shut down. It was Sundays was everything was shut down. There was a reference. It's just like in other words, we just stop and we pause and we shut it down. And so I'm saying to somebody on today, you're saying life is so busy, I never have time. You just have to make time, right? So we have a thing that we've incorporated, and I'm the one that's gotten us off of it. But we had a thing that we created called Unplug Sundays. In other words, man, we putting our phones down, putting the iPad down, we're putting these devices down. Everybody gonna come out their room. We're not gonna all be. We ain't gonna have 17 TVs going on. Everybody know we're gonna on purpose work to spend this time together as a family. Now it's a challenge. I ain't gonna lie. I'm the main one cheating, getting up, going to the bathroom, checking my phone. It's like we're so addicted to life, you don't even realize that you have given so much life to these other things, and the other stuff has starved, and it's just really have dried out. And what happens is when you don't put any attention to it, you look up, it's like a boat that hadn't been tied off at the dock. When you look up, you have drifted so far away from the place of safety, the place where you should be harboring, but you way out at sea with no compass, no way of getting back. But I'm here to tell somebody that feel like they've drifted off. There is a place for you to get back. And so, man, I love that response of saying, hey, we got to get back to just some of the old, I don't want to say old fashioned, but we got to get back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what, man? I'm going to give you a good example of how, like I said, you have to make, if you want to call it a sacrifice, for the betterment of your family. Last year, we was in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
It was my 50th birthday in July.
Okay.
And I had a trip planned. We was going to do a fellas trip, go to Vegas, and just really have a good time, man.
Right.
50 only come once. You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely.
But anyway, we ended up canceling the trip because Vegas was pretty much shut down.
Right.
But I did end up going to Chicago.
Okay.
For about 5 days. And my kids kept saying, well, Dad, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, you know what? All I want is for kids and grandkids to just get together. When I touch down, I'm not telling my friends I'm coming. I'm not going out anywhere. All I want to do is spend time with my family.
Right.
Man, when I say those days in Chicago were the best days that I had. That was the birthday treat and the reason it is because we literally just focused on us.
Right.
It was just us. We just literally went out to eat. My
Mhm.
daughter and them cooked. The grandkids was having fun. The kids, everybody was just having a great time. And
Right.
we were not really doing a whole lot, but we were
Right.
together. And when we was
Absolutely.
together, you ain't see everybody on their cell phones. I mean,
Right.
we literally sitting around laughing, talking, and just enjoying being around each other. So every
Absolutely.
time they look over at me, they see this big smile on my face, and they're like, "Baby, what's wrong with you? What's wrong?" I said, "Just sitting back, looking at this is what it used to be like.
That's it.
We just
That's
having
it.
a good time. That's it."
That's it. That's it. And I
And all
think
it took was me to just say, "Hey, normally when I go to Chicago, I'm gonna go see this person, this person, this person, this person." No,
right.
this time
Right.
I was like, "Hey, don't take it personal, but this is a family. This is for my family. This
It's for
thing
my
ain't got
family.
nothing to do with nothing else."
Right. Oh man, Trey. See, man. All right. So listen, we're talking about this community convos here. If you watch, you follow, in order to turn around our families, to turn around our communities, the men in the community, the head in the community,
Man.
we're going to have to make some different decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you just heard from a father, right? A grandfather. It's like, look, this is important. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the pressure, right? I'm going to put the word out there, and it starts with me. Like you said, normally when you go, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go see this person, I'm gonna go see that person. As we used to say back in the day, I'm gonna turn these corners or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly.
But you was like, no, no, no. Even 50 is very, very important. That's a great milestone, but it's something about the pandemic that puts things in perspective
Man,
in terms
definitely.
of life, right? So
Definitely.
I think when we talk about our families, hopefully during this time, people are just like that. Like, wait a minute, man, what's really, really important, right? What's really, really important? And so in order for us to move forward, we have to have these type of conversations. So sometimes it ain't necessarily a right and a wrong answer, but sometimes, man, we will not address the elephant in the room. And if we be
Mm-hmm.
honest, as men, man, we get so busy. Come on, man. We
Yep.
get so big. I'm telling you, that's one of my number one issues, man. Just the busyness of life, man. And every time the wife is like, babe, what we need, I said, babe, I got this to do. Okay, babe, I got the podcast to do. Babe, do the, and then after a while, it's like, well, where do we fit in this scheme
Mm-hmm.
of life? And you talk about the family being divided. Many times, it's just due to the busyness of life. Now, I understand there are things that have to get done, but where is how do you balance it, right? And the reason I'm asking this question is because you understand that, man, you're a husband, right? You
Mm-hmm.
you have a demanding job. Well, let me back
Mm-hmm.
up. Let me go back to the first one. It's demanding being a husband. It's just the responsibilities that come is very demanding. And if you're a husband, man, you have to spend time working on your craft as a husband. So that means you got to spend time with your wife and family. It's just part of it. Now, if you're so busy and that part of your life is suffering, you got to go back and recalibrate some other stuff. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
simple fact. It's a simple
Mm-hmm.
fact because it's going to trickle down and you're going to start seeing the fallout effects of it in your family. And then when we see the fallout effects in our families, it falls out where? Into the community. We see it,
Yep. Yep.
right? So
Exactly.
so if you were talking and you're saying, well, hey man, here are a couple of things that you can do to kind of keep the balance, because you're busy as a husband, you're definitely busy as a father. You already said you're busy. You have responsibility as a grandfather. That's just three,
Right.
not including your career,
Right.
right? Right. And then, I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about it today, but you have some other things in life that you want to do. You have some
Yeah.
foundations, some benefits, because you're like, man, I want to help some people, right? So
Definitely.
talk about the busyness of life and like how can we get more balance? Or how can we have better balance?
The number one thing is do away with excuses. We come up
mm,
with excuses, man. Excuses is the easiest way to get out of doing what you need to do.
right.
Um, the judge that I work for, Amber Givens, in the 282nd court here in Dallas, I hear her tell people, excuses build bridges to nowhere. So
Mm.
that's number one
Whoa,
thing.
whoa, whoa,
We need
whoa,
to get rid of the
whoa,
excuses.
whoa. Whoa. Hold on, man. You taking me fast now. Excuses builds bridges to nowhere.
Yeah,
Whoa. Come
yeah,
on, man.
yeah.
That's powerful.
So once that's the number one thing. Once you do away with the excuses, then you can start to plan and prioritize and say, okay, let me get my priorities in order.